Successful people generally don't spend too much time in psychotherapy. They know how to meet problems head on and, as in business, get things resolved quickly and decisively. There are many situations where we can act as our own therapist, and today I'm going to give you 8 points to consider. Welcome to Morning Tea.
Hi, I'm Joanne, business owner and entrepreneur, licensed yacht helmsman, mother, grandmother, and musical artist.
Now, I'm not talking about seeking counsel for decisions and direction. There is wisdom in a multitude of counselors, asking lots of questions, seeking advice from people who have walked the way that you want to go. But there are many times when we already know what the problem is and the solution, and the problem will be resolved the minute that you make the decision to do so. So here's an example for you. In the 1989 hit movie War of the Roses, Danny DeVito plays an attorney, and he's talking to his client about kicking his smoking habit. He said that he kept the last cigarette from the last pack in a custom-made case. And he reasoned that if he never smoked that cigarette, he would never smoke again. He's right. At that moment, he became a former smoker. It's something that he used to do. Now, it's not to say that he's not going to go through some misery as he gets some time and space between himself and that vice. It's not to say it's going to take some time for his lungs to regenerate and get back to full health, but it's done. It's over. There is no amount of therapy that can make him stop, his hand to his mouth. It's decide, do, done. Number 2 to consider is that you may well be better off than your therapist. There was a study done of 500 psychiatrists, and 30% of them were honest enough to admit that they had a mental illness. And many of them said they got into that field because they wanted to try to understand themselves or to understand family members who had mental problems. Now, it's not to say that they haven't learned some useful tools in their education that you could find helpful, but be careful not to overesteem who they are and certainly not to overpay them for their services. Number 3, whatever you do, don't tell Wally.
People go to a psychiatrist to talk about their problems. She just needed to unload them. You know, bring them out in the open.
Has she got any mates?
You're right. Guess we could all use more mates. Suppose you don't have any shrinks at Walkabout Creek.
Nah, back there, if you've got a problem, you tell Wally. And he tells everyone in town, brings it out in the open, no more problem.
It's cute and romantic in the movie, but in real life, bringing your personal problems out into the open can cause damage. Let's just say, for instance, you and your spouse are having difficulty in your marriage. And you go and you share these things, these private matters with relatives, and then you and your spouse sort it out. And you forgive and forget. The relatives might not forget. They might hold grudges. They certainly have information that's not going to do anybody any good. There's a word that we need to bring back into our culture, and that is discretion. You know, that's gone out the window. People share all of their intimate details all over the internet, and it really adds up to just a lot of old-fashioned meddling in other people's business. Many times when people spend years and years in therapy, it's because they don't want to face the reality. They don't want to do what it takes to make the change. Think back. Have you ever launched yourself into something and at the bitter end of the whole thing, you were honest enough to admit that early on you saw red flags. Your intuition was kicking you in the gut, but you wanted this thing so badly that you just ignored all of it. You knew. Number 5 to consider is that as human beings, we have an innate and powerful ability to deceive ourselves and then blame other people. We hear this all day long with our children, squabbling away, driving us crazy. And from day one, what have we heard? Adam and Eve, she made me do it, it's not my fault. Whatever the problem is, thousands before have had it and mastered it, and someone somewhere wrote a book about it, so find it and make an application from their journey to your unique situation. If you are looking for a therapist, let me refer you to one of the best counselors I know, King Solomon, who was one of the most successful and wisest people to ever live. A lot of his teachings are in the Proverbs, and there are so many topics. There's wisdom, ethics, morality, legal advice, financial advice. Here is one of thousands of his Proverbs. And for optimal mental health, take care of the basic things first. Get enough sleep, eat well, exercise, recreate, express yourself creatively if you play a musical instrument, and then be a good, decent person. You know, if you get all of these things in order first, you might find that some of the problems just fade away. Thank you so much for being here again today. Do you have any thoughts on self-therapy? Please pop them into the comments section below. I'd love to see those. We put out new content every week, so be sure and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Go over to joannejolie.com and sign up to be on my official mail list, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
about the hardship